La 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 la. Well, hello and welcome to this Wednesday's MBE Movie News. I'm back again. I done a show about 5 minutes ago and the audio wasn't working, and someone kindly gave me a heads up in the chat and warned me that the audio wasn't on, so I just restarted the whole show, guys, and look, let's do it better this time, because the first one was terrible and I'm glad the audio wasn't on. But look, headlines there: every Spider-Man movie is a part of the MCU, and as I was saying before, this is slightly, and I hope that this radar thing that's coming up on my monitor over here isn't seen in the actual capture, because shambles. This is news that it would normally excite me a lot more than it currently does, and that's because the man who's been speaking about it, and thankfully the little guidelines on the monitor are not being captured in the actual OBS. The man who's been speaking is Scott Derrickson. This man gets sacked off of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and of course it was because of creative differences between him and Kevin Feige. He wanted to go down a more traditional hardcore horror movie route, and Kevin Feige, he wanted to put elements of horror in. So this guy has fell out of the umbrella that is Disney, and I don't know how much authority that he has when it comes to the inner machinations of the MCU, what is in it and what is not in it. So that's dampened my excitement a little bit, the fact that it's Scott has come out and spoke about it, not perhaps a Kevin Feige, a James Gunn, or a Taika Waititi, someone who's actually within the Disney Marvel machine, if you'd like. And this is what he had to say, very short and sweet. Quote, "All Spider-Man iterations are de facto MCU." Now, look, that's very interesting. Look, screwed it. Shambles of a show tonight. I'm incredibly tired and I've been so busy today, so you have to bear with me. We'll get through this show, I'm absolutely sure of it. I'm going to make this part of a greater topic, really, just discussing the potential of this news. There's another article I have up from Screen Rant. They are going into where the MCU could go in these next two phases with the multiverse concept, with characters who could pop in, characters who we haven't seen yet, characters who have been dead could make a return via the spectrum of this multiverse story plot. Characters from different universes that look different to what we've seen. We have Smart Hulk at the moment. Could be that Mark Ruffalo appears as the juvenile Hulk once again, just want to smash things all over the place. But the actual Spider-Man one is interesting. If it is indeed true that they are all part of the MCU, then that of course means that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are part of the MCU, and that they are able to come right in. It's provided they can actually negotiate deals with the actors. They're able to come right into the story, and I think they will come into the story in Spider-Man 3. It hasn't yet been confirmed that they are part of the cast, but it seems like it would be an incredible drop ball moment if they were to bring in the likes of Electro, bring back the likes of J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons' character, and not bring back Tobey Maguire, and not bring back Andrew Garfield. This big Titanic potential trilogy ending movie, what better way to do it than to make it a sort of civil war of Spider-Man, multiple versions coming in, and really kick-starting this off. Of course, WandaVision comes out early next year, but this would be the first cinematic storytelling of this multiverse concept. I keep wanting to say madness, it will be madness. And this is this article I was speaking about, coming in from Screen Rant, and this is what they have to say. They're saying Avengers 5 unites the MCU's multiverse. This is where they think it's going to go, and look, I find myself agreeing with them, because it all seems to align. We know for a fact that, is it Jonathan Major is coming in to play Kang the Conqueror, a man who has a propensity for time travel, for meddling in previous conflicts, and changing history to make him the sort of supreme victor in these conquests. And we know he's coming in, so that would tie up right away. We know that the Time Variance Authority and Loki are going to play a part in the upcoming Loki show on Disney+. We know that time travel and that multiverses are going to be established in the MCU, moving into this new phase, this new saga of stories. And they say Avengers Forever would be explained, and essentially what they're saying is here, and I'll try and bring it up, the Kree-Skrull War, which we already know has been established in Captain Marvel as part of the comic, not the comic, the cinematic canon. They're saying that there's a certain individual, Rick Jones, and he was a powerful character with cosmic ability, and he was able to call on a whole array of heroes. He could conjure them up to help him in battle. And this helped him face off against the likes of, I'm trying to find the guy's name just at this moment, I'm completely blanking on it for some strange reason. Immortus, it helped him fight the likes of Immortus. He conjured up various versions of Hank Pym, Wasp, Hawkeye. Captain America came back, and if we can get Steve Rogers, Captain America back, if we can get Chris Evans coming back to the MCU via this, even just as a short little cameo in a couple of movies, then I'm all on board for that. I have to tell you, they're saying not only is this a potential plot, perhaps not even with Rick Jones, but maybe someone else, but they're saying that Phase 4 is building towards a multiverse crossover, and it is. I've spoken about this before. Loki's involved in multiverse. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, it's in the title. WandaVision, Spider-Man 3, there's a whole array of multiverse goodness, and of course, Kree Skrull War. Obviously, we have Captain Marvel, it's established there's different versions of characters in this universe. Nick Fury is a different Nick Fury to the one that we originally thought he was. He went off on a holiday, in a sense, and this other guy was a masquerading sort of figure. So they're right, they're building towards it. You see it there, Doctor Strange 2, Loki, Spider-Man 3, WandaVision. And they're right in what they say, that it's going to be set up in a way to how the battle for the Infinity Stones was set up through various different movies, various different sub-compartmentalised stories within the Infinity Saga. They're doing the same thing here. They're setting it up with different standalone stories, broaching the idea of multiverse, bringing in different characters, it all building to Kang the Conqueror, building to a cataclysmic battle, building to potentially Tony Stark coming back, potentially Steve Rogers coming back, potentially maybe even Black Widow, I was about to say Scarlet Witch, Black Widow coming back. We know that Vision's still alive in some strange way in this universe conjured up by Scarlet Witch. So it's all aligning, and I do find myself agreeing with this article. And now the fact that we have Scott Derrickson coming out and admitting potentially that Spider-Man, all of these Spider-Man iterations, movies are part of this universe, that's opening the door to this being a possibility to us, bringing in different versions, bringing in dead characters, bringing in different versions of other characters. I've already said that, I know. This is opening up so much possibilities for this new phase of storytelling. They say how Avengers 5 can unite the universe. Well, they've said it there. Theoretically, it could bring back heroes that have been removed from the equation, like Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow. And of course, actors being unwilling to reprise these roles could stop these returns from happening. Of course it could, but I don't think Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans would be adverse to coming back for a big ensemble, sort of well-built movie story, if you like. I don't think they'd be adverse to it. And I think it's just got so much potential. This is why I was excited for the multiverse concept when it got broached. First, of course, in Multiverse of Madness, and then there was talk of Spider-Man bringing back different versions of J. Jonah Jameson that happened in, of course, Far From Home. People were criticising it. They says this is going to get convoluted, it's dangerous, they're going down the same route as Sony, too many villains, it's going to get muddied, they will lose their vision, their simplicity that's attracted thousands, if not definitely millions of audience and fans over the years. And I says that was bullshit. Kevin Feige's involved. There's an array of incredibly talented creative people behind the scenes at Marvel Disney. They will balance this correctly. We know that there's characters like, is it Scorpion and Vulture, an array of different villains who have been toyed with in the Spider-Man trilogy, soon to be a trilogy, duology, whatever you want to call it. They haven't had their storylines complete, and that is not how this studio, how Kevin Feige operates. This man is a stickler for doing things correct. He's a stickler for ending arcs. There's no plot holes left. There's not any loopholes in there where characters are not being utilised. So he will get it right. He will bring in dead characters. I'm absolutely sure Tony Stark will come back, if not in a different vein, as an AI Jarvis type thing. He may come back as a full-bodied different version from a different universe. We will see this bringing together this saga, this new saga. It's going to be cosmic driven. It's going to be multiverse driven. And I'm supremely excited for it. Did every Spider-Man actor start shooting? No, they didn't. It's not yet confirmed. It's actually Scott Derrickson from Doctor Strange fame. He has come out and says these characters are all potentially part of the MCU. I think they will come in to Spider-Man 3, though. I absolutely believe that we will see Tobey Maguire, we will see Andrew Garfield appearing in this third instalment of Spider-Man. I fully believe they could have a sort of longer role in the new saga, that whatever it's going to be called, Phase 4, 5, 6 and beyond. I think they're going to be involved. I think there's going to be a whole array of different versions of characters. We know Quicksilver's coming in, Evan Peters is coming in from WandaVision. It's not going to be the Aaron Taylor-Johnson version, so it's already been established. And you know what, I just cannot wait for it, man. But look, just briefly, there's other articles I have opened. I'm not going to touch upon them all, but here's another reason. They're saying Ultron is almost certainly going to be appearing in WandaVision because it's established in the comics. And it just makes sense with the Vision Ultron connection. This man's battling an existential sort of crisis. How's he still alive? He died at the hands of Thanos. I think Ultron will come back in, and then of course this is the final one. Actually, that's the next article. The other one I was going to be touching upon was Michael Giacchino is coming in to score Spider-Man 3. Of course, he was involved in Spider-Man previously. He was seen as the heir apparent to George Lucas, a truly stupendously talented composer, and I just can't wait to see this man bringing this musical element to it. The MCU's score has been incredible over the years. You've just had so many memorable moments. The portal scene in Endgame, the moment where Thanos appears on Wakanda in Infinity War. Alan Silvestri is just tremendous. Michael Giacchino, can't wait to see what he brings and how he can add to what is already some truly stupendous score work. But look, I gave a little brief glimpse of it. I'm going to connect this into another topic very, very briefly indeed. It's all about Alfred Molina. There is rumours that this man is coming back to star as Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 3, and I'm going to just ponder whether I think that's a good idea or not. The article's coming in from MovieWeb. I don't know what the source is. I don't know if there's anything to this at all, but I tell you what, he was a great villain. And he's such a good actor too. He's been game for it for years. He's been speaking about this for years. And if we're bringing back Jamie Foxx's terrible Electro character, why can we not bring back Alfred Molina even, as Dr. Octopus? I think it'd be... Man, we're going multiverse in these movies that are coming up, so anything's possible. And I'm game for it. As is Alfred, and I'm going to try and get the man's quote in a moment. I don't know where it is. There is a quote in here somewhere. I'm absolutely certain of it. It wasn't from recently. It was from 2014. And this is what he had to say. He says he'd return to the role in a heartbeat. He says, that was the most fun I think I've ever had in a movie of that kind. Those big sort of features where you spend like 6 months hanging off a wire. You know, it was the first movie of that kind that I'd ever been involved in. I had a wonderful time. I loved it. Look, I don't know what the authority is, but look, I've kind of gave away my position. I'd love to see him come back. He's an iconic Spider-Man villain. There's already talk that they're setting up a Sinister Six plotline with potentially Tom Holland, if not a Miles Morales live action story. We've got another comment here. I think it will be cool, like Avengers and Endgame climax. But look, I have full faith in Kevin Feige. No matter what happens, that he will take this story off in a direction that will appease fans, that will appease general casual viewers alike. This man knows how to please people. He knows how to bring in big bucks. He's got the top grossing movie of all time. All of the movies gross between $600 million and over $1 billion at the box office. This guy will get the creative decisions absolutely bang on. And if he thinks it's right, working in conjunction with Sony to bring in a Dr. Octopus, then I'm game for it. I want to see the Sinister Six. It's been broached for so many years and it's just never really been happened. It's never happened, and that's because Sony are just a nightmare really when they utilise the Spider-Man character, and that's why it's better staying over in Marvel Disney, because there's so much more potential. But wait guys, that's it. I'm done speaking about that. I'm going to move on. I've actually screwed up the ordering of the actual articles. That's why I thought I was going to be speaking about Michael Giacchino and I brought up Alfred Molina instead. But look, the next topic, we're switching from Marvel to DC, and it's all about Wonder Woman 1984. It's setting a global release schedule, global release dates, and this is coming in from Variety, and this has me perplexed, to say the least. It's a strange decision from Warner Brothers. It's a very strange decision from DC. What are they thinking about? We know this movie is coming out in a joint release over in the States. It's coming out on Christmas Day in the theatres, and it's releasing on HBO Max, the streaming service over there. Now, I questioned at the time when this news broke, I made it a headline, I'm sure. I questioned the wisdom. What were they going to do over here? We know we don't have HBO Max here in the United Kingdom. We have Sky. They work a deal with Warner Brothers and HBO to show their content on the Sky platform. I'm a subscriber to Sky, and I did wonder whether we would see a joint release over here, it coming out in the theatres and potentially releasing on Sky to rent or just free to watch like it is on HBO. Well, we now know the answer. It's been announced that they are going to release global release dates for this movie. They're trying to get ahead of its potential pirating, because we know as soon as this hits HBO Max, it's going to be pirated immediately, and it'll be available on all the various places you can get pirated content. They're trying to get ahead of it. They're releasing the movie 11 days. Is that right? 11 days earlier. It is 11 days, John. Maths was never my strong point. It's coming out on the 16th of December over here in the United Kingdom. And in fact, I'll try and get the various different release dates up. Belgium, France, most of Europe are getting this movie on the 16th of December. It's coming out in theatres. Doesn't seem as though it's getting the joint release strategy over here. We seem to be just getting this in theatres, strangely releasing in Germany and Austria on the 23rd. Don't know what that's about. Huge markets. I think this is a terrible decision from Warner Brothers. I think they are making a huge mistake. This movie will not be seen by the vast majority of people here in the United Kingdom, the second biggest movie market in the Western world. We're in lockdown here in Scotland just now. We can't go to theatres, they're shut. Various places are shut. Most of hospitality is shut. It's the same in England. It's the same in most of Europe. So come the 16th of December, I don't see theatres opening up again. I don't see any potential for us to watch this movie in theatres. So it's a strange decision. And all it's going to lead to is mass pirating of this movie. It was like the Mandalorian on Disney Plus when it released. They've decided not to release Disney Plus over here, open it up over here until 7 or 8 months after the United States, and bizarrely Holland and Australia got it. And it was mass pirated. India release date, I'll try and find the Indian release date, I'll see if it's there. I'll try and give you a little helping hand here. I don't see anything about India here, sadly. I presume it's probably releasing, no, I don't see any information sadly about India. No, there you go, sorry, Friday the 25th of December, it releases in India on Christmas Day. Now, I don't know what the situation's like over in India with coronavirus at the moment, if it's a lockdown in any of the major cities. Are the theatre companies still opened over there? I know there's been movies we've reacted to that are not yet released because of coronavirus. I know that there was a huge festival over there, Diwali I think it's called, Light Festival, and it was impacted because of coronavirus. So I just think this is a mistake from this company. They're making a pig's ear of it in a sense, and it's going to backfire. But either way, if I can get a theatre to watch it, I'll watch it. I've had coronavirus and I'm extremely confident I'll not have it again, and I would go and watch the movie in the theatres with a mask on if I'm allowed to, but sadly I'm not at the moment. But look, I'm going to move on, guys, to a part of the show I termed the blog rundown. This is where we throw a bone to our team of writers over on the website. They write an array of very interesting movie reviews. I'd urge you to go over to that link if you're interested in movies. You want to get sort of unabashed, unapologetic, brilliantly written movie reviews with no ulterior motives or nothing in between. I've got some reviews on there. I'm a not too bad writer, not as good as the chap I'm about to read. And yes, the first one coming in, here you have it. It's a rainy day in New York. This is a Woody Allen movie. This guy's trying to sort of reminisce back to times when he was a defining director, actor. And by all accounts, he's not doing a good job of it. Because DM, a truly stupendous writer, as I did say, much better than me, amazing with analogies and stuff like that. It's had this to say, and I'm going to just be brief on this one, because to be quite frank, I seem to have went through 31 years of my life missing every single Woody Allen movie, so I can't even speak about his brilliance of yonder years, because I never watched any of the guy's movies. So maybe I have and I just don't know them, but none are ringing the bell. This is what I had to say. Well, nobody thinks Woody Allen has another Annie Hall in him. I know that's from the 70s or something. A Rainy Day in New York is a dull and forgettable film by a director still in love with the persona he's now too old to perform himself. Like an ageing classic rocker, he seems content to pay the bills by playing the hits with a backup band who weren't even born during his prime. That's like Paul McCartney, Dave. We went to see him in 2010 at Hampden, and a lot of the backing team, the guitarist, the drummer, were much, much younger than him. But he was still good, man, I have to tell you. But I see what you mean, and this movie looks as though it should work. Such a good cast in there. An amazing cast. I'm going to bring up the cast very briefly before I move on. Timothy Chalamet, Ellie Fanning, Liv Schreiber, Selena Gomez, Jude Law, Diego Luna. That's a brilliant cast. It should work. So it's clearly just poor writing, nostalgia, and he's just lost his touch. And it happens to everyone, really, of an artistic mind. Musicians, directors, actors, it just happens. They lose their way, they lose that drive. That's fine. But look, I'm going to move on to the second review. Try to make it very quick paced tonight. I want to get on to the last two topics of the show. It's Antebellum. This is a movie that I actually seen the trailer of. I was incredibly intrigued by it. It's Janelle Monáe. It was a horror movie. Never gave a lot away, but it seemed like there was going to be time travelling elements to it. She was a sort of slave in the antebellum south of the United States. She looked up and there was a plane in the sky. So it excited me. I never got to see it because of coronavirus. I know you were the same, Dave. You were looking forward to it. Coronavirus screwed up your plans. You didn't get to see it in the theatres. It went digital. You finally seen it. And you do not have the same opinion as most critical movie reviewers in the sense that they seem to pan it. They thought it was underwhelming. You thought it was pretty damn decent. And this is what you had to say in summary. Antebellum may not be an all-time horror classic, and perhaps not a horror film at all. That's interesting, but it takes a lot to really surprise me anymore, so I got to tip my hat to any movie that manages that. Though the clues are there, I did not see the plot twist coming, and I'm willing to wager most other viewers won't either. Forgive me for not elaborating further, but the less you know about the film going in, the better. And by all accounts, it's a movie which packs a punch in that final act. There's horror elements in the start, showing you the horrors of slavery and whatnot. Because often a sort of meandering, establishing second act, and then it hits you right in the balls in the third act, and I love that. That's why I'm a fan of the likes of M. Night Shyamalan, because these guys know how to really boot you in the proverbial bollocks when you are watching a movie. They give you, I'm flying in some slang here, guys, give you a real surprise when you're watching, and that's great. I like movies that stick with me. And I tell you what, The Sixth Sense certainly stuck with me, and that was M. Night Shyamalan. It's brilliant, best Glass as well. Not Glass, Unbreakable. But look, man, let's move on to the third movie review on the blog rundown tonight. It is another film which intrigued me very much. It's Train to Busan presents Peninsula. This is the sequel to the truly, and I mean truly, magnificent Train to Busan. We were late to the game. We watched this movie earlier on this year. And I tell you what, I share your sentiments once again, Dave. That is one of the greatest zombie movies ever put to screen. It's just unbelievable, as you rightly said. It had thrilling moments, it had scary moments, it had funny moments, touching moments. Really well written. Real satirical look at the world. And that's something Koreans do amazingly in their movies, incidentally. And I have to admit, the critical response to the sequel put me off watching it. Apparently it was lackluster, underwhelming, nowhere near the original. I put it off. It put me off. By all accounts, didn't put you off. And look, you've kind of upped my spirits a bit because your review was, as ever, brilliant. And you've got me on board for perhaps giving this a bash. It's a different story, and maybe that's why people were so disappointed. They expected a direct continuation of what we got in the first movie. They expected the same high velocity pace. You can't do that. You have to think out the box and change the way you do things. They've done this time, but not all is good. And as you can see, Dave does say that the protagonists are not as likeable. The antagonist is missing. But it's a different movie, and it isn't all that bad. It's not as bad as it made out. This is his summary of it. He said, Train to Busan was one of those rare films that managed to transcend its genre, and chances are the law of diminishing returns would apply, to any follow-up. So perhaps going in a completely different direction was a wise decision when viewed as a standalone story that takes place in the same universe as opposed to a true sequel. You can never really do a true sequel unless it's Empire Strikes Back after A New Hope, which is the greatest Star Wars movie ever made, incidentally. And I've got a New Hope poster behind me, so that's strange. But that was the one that started it all, wasn't it? He says, Peninsula is an enjoyable action-filled horror film. You got to temper your expectations. And that's the way I always look at these kind of movies. When you move into a sequel of an award-winning hit movie, you have to temper your expectations. It's never going to be as good. I'm hoping A Quiet Place 2 is better than the original, because that's another one that maybe you have to temper your expectations for. But I've got confidence in John Krasinski. He's brought in Cillian Murphy, who, let's be honest, is a better actor than John Krasinski. And I've got confidence he'll get that right. By all accounts, he didn't quite get the balance right in this one. But look, I'll give that a bash at some point because I'm excited about it. But look, that's going to round up the blog rundown. Let's go over to that link if you've got anything you want to read movie-wise. There's every review's on there pretty much. You've got B-movies, indie movies, big blockbuster movies, everything in between, man. You've got retro movies as well. I've been a large part of the retro movie reviewing on that website, incidentally. But look, let's go on to the fourth topic. It's Daisy Ridley. It's Star Wars. Spoke about Star Wars. Daisy was very happy with her character Rey's story arc. I think she was the only one that was happy, because it was a terrible story arc. And she's had this to say. Surprise, surprise, she's not been really listening to John Boyega, or her apparent friend. Speaking about him being shafted and put to the side, his character being shat upon from a great height. Same with Kelly Marie Tran's Rose Tico character. He came out and was quite disparaging about her and Adam Driver and how they knew it, and their characters were put front and centre at the expense of theirs. And this is what she's had to say. I feel totally satisfied with how that story finished. I just don't know what else she could do that I didn't have to do. Well, there's nothing that Rey can't do, Daisy. There's nothing that she can't do. She's a superhero. And that's fair enough, because Jedi are superhero, but even within the actual Jedi, the lineage of great Jedi, she is up here, and there's nothing she couldn't do, so you've quite got that right. Also, there are so many amazing characters in Star Wars. That's sort of the amazing thing. I was watching the new episode of Mandalorian, and it's just like the places it can go beyond even where it's now. Even where it is now, it's so exciting. Oh, she's right, man. Star Wars is going in good places now, and it's because Kathleen Kennedy's tenure's coming up, and Jon Favreau's been positioned to replace her, a man who actually understands Star Wars, a man who doesn't have an agenda. He just wants to write good, pure stories which harken back to the Halicon days of the original trilogy. A man who was not scared to take opinions from the guys like Dave Filoni, who also understand Star Wars on a core level. That's why it's going in good places. That's why The Mandalorian has been such a huge success. It's that duo of these two guys and having a coherent story which has a start, a middle and an end. You're not bringing in directors and changing up things all over the place with no coherent vision. That's how storytelling works. That's how Star Wars works. And that's why it's going in places that are exciting. But as for Daisy Ridley and her comments about Rey, she was happy with her story arc. Well, what arc was it? Where did the character go? When we met her, she was a sort of scavenger on Jakku. She was lonely, but she could already handle herself. We could see her sort of grappling off of huge ropes in these destroyed Star Destroyers. I said destroyed too much here. She was already able to handle herself in a fight. She never faced any real adversity in that movie. She was able to take down Kylo Ren, a trained dark side user of the Force, with relative ease, even though he was injured. Second movie, just meandered all over the place really. She went to Act 2, she met Luke, kind of get trained in the ways of the Force, and then she fought with Kylo against Snoke, and again, never really was defeated, never faced any real adversity. And then obviously in the third movie I should say, they all blend into one, they were all shit. Again, no real adversity she's able to overcome the Emperor. And of course there was that little moment at the end where she needed the help of Kylo, or Ben at that point. But this character doesn't have a traditional hero's arc like Luke. She doesn't have any adversity. She's not went on a journey. There's no real metaphorical or satirical thing going on with the character. It's just a overpowered, unbelievable character with an agenda-driven narrative at its core. And that's because of Kathleen Kennedy. She just doesn't understand Star Wars, and it's because of Rian Johnson and the discombobulated shambles it was the sequel trilogy. It was just put together with not a care, no thought about where they were going with it. And when you don't have a creative, coherent vision throughout a three arc story, it's doomed to fail. And her arc was like a microcosmic look at the entire Star Wars sequel trilogy, just a shambles. It went nowhere. The story went nowhere. Nowhere. It didn't further the galaxy. It didn't further the characters at all. I think the only guy that got real development was Kylo Ren, and that's because Adam Driver's such a talented actor that he he probably forced that, he demanded that development, that nuance. But look, man, I'm done with Star Wars sequel trilogy. It's in the can. It's consigned to the trash can. And I'm happy about that. We're moving on to a brighter time for Star Wars. Hopefully, we must pray. And I'm moving on, literally, to the final topic on the show. And it's all about Avengers Endgame's Joe Russo. He's been speaking about streaming services and the benefits of streaming releases. He's got quite a lengthy quote. It's coming in from Cinema Blend, and he's had this to say. As you can see, very lengthy quote. I mean, the world is disrupting. Don't know what that means. And it's changing at lightning speed, and the pandemic has certainly accelerated that change. And I think that there are certain stories that are better suited for digital distribution in the off of theatrical distribution. I think, it's becoming more evident that these stories are. I also think that there's real specificity to it, reaching regions, international regions, that digital has an advantage. Also, there's a cost advantage. People can share accounts, where you can get, he likes doesn't he? It's like me with it. There's a word I like to use a lot. He likes 10 movies in a month for the cost of one movie. He's done it again. Not everyone can afford the luxury of going to the theatre, but you'd have to be very, very poor, Joe, to not be able to go to the theatre here. View is incredibly cheap, something like £6 odds for a ticket. And if you can't afford £6 odds for a movie ticket, then wow, that's tragic. I understand there's certain people who have been dealt really bad hands in life, who are perhaps obviously in poverty and they're just scraping an existence. And I don't wish to demean their existence, to demean the issues going on in their lives and stuff like that. But I think the overwhelming majority of the population could afford £6 to £7 on a ticket to go and see a movie in a View theatre. I understand Cineworld, much more expensive. I don't know what it's like over in the States, probably even more expensive over there. Ridiculous, really. But I can't get on board with that last bit, that sharing accounts and saving money. That's bullshit. That's not why people watch movies and streaming services. They watch it for convenience. They watch it because they don't want to go out the theatres every single night. They don't want to go out 3-4 times a week. It's convenient to sit in your house and watch it on your TV. And look, streaming services bring us different things as well. They bring us different content from around the world. Me and Stephen have discovered that recently. We've been watching a lot of Indian content. We've got it via the spectrum, or the medium I should say, of streaming services. Amazon Prime have a huge swathe of Indian content. Netflix equally have a huge swathe of Indian content too. Bahubali was on there. And I'm immensely happy. I'm immensely, how shall I put it? Privileged, I don't know. That's probably not the right word. To have that content at my fingertips, and that is what streaming services bring. So you're right about it, reaching international regions, reaching different parts of the world, giving people a diverse catalogue of content. That is the power of streaming services, and it's something that cannot be replicated in the theatre-going experience. Unless you go to an indie art house theatre like we have here, the Glasgow Film Theatre, where they show you movies from around the world, different little independent movies. You can't get that, and that's what streaming services do, and he's absolutely right, finally, in what he says about a disrupting and changing world, changing at a lightning speed. I've been saying this for months now, that this pandemic is changing the way that people are consuming movies, it's changing the way that entertainment is viewed, it's changing the movie industry, and this is a movie industry that is... It doesn't want to change. We've seen the dinosaurs, Steven Spielberg, people who were innovators in the 70s, dragging their heels over the issue with Netflix at the Oscars and stuff like that. They don't want to move with the times. They want to remain in the analogue era. And they want it all kept to themselves. They're greedy, cliquey shitheads. Or cliques, as they like to call them over in the States. They don't want to change with the times because the innovation is in these streaming services. It's in different avenues now. It's not in the major studios. They're scared to their wits' ends about doing anything innovative. They want to do remake after remake after remake. It's all bland and beige. So that's what he's saying is absolutely true, that it's changing at a lightning pace, and we're going digital like music done 20 years ago, and I am for one well on board with it. I'm still a fan of going to the theatres. I'm still a fan of sharing a communal experience with other people. But you have to move with the times, and ultimately the times are moving to a digital place. And look, I'm happy about that. But look, I'm going to round the show up on that note. What is your thoughts on the topics I touched upon? What do you make about this Scott Derrickson quote that every Spider-Man movie put to film is de facto part of the MCU? Is that something that excites you? Can you take much from the authority of Scott Derrickson, a man who's been sacked out of the MCU? Do you think he's telling the truth? Do you think this is something that will manifest itself in the cinematic universe in the coming years? Do you think we'll see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield standing alongside Tom Holland in Spider-Man 3 maybe in the future? What do you make about the rich sort of complexities and the potential of this multiverse? Do you think we'll see Kang the Conqueror? We'll see dead characters, all different variations of characters coming out of different universes in this very different saga that's getting told? What do you make about Alfredo Molina? Do you think he should come back as Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 3? Do you think it will happen? Finally, what do you make about Wonder Woman 1984 getting a solely theatrical release slot in Europe and just about every other territory outside of North America? Do you think that's a right decision? Or do you believe, like me, that it's destined to fail and be the most pirated movie of all time? What do you finally make about Daisy Ridley's absolute pish, I'm going to call it, about Rey's story arc, and the way that the entertainment industry, films are being consumed, changing? Do you agree with Joe Russo that there's some merits to streaming services? If you've got anything to say at all, you can comment below and let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed me blabbering away for Lord knows how long. And you can subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. And if you do, guys, you'll see me and Stephen tomorrow doing a joint movie news show. And you'll see me on my Todd again, potentially. No, you won't. You'll see us doing a review on Friday of Scam 1992 episodes 3 and 4. But look, until then, I'm going to bid you farewell with a short and sweet, simple little bye-bye.